Well, welcome everybody. I'm Trey. I'm here at the SmugMug headquarters in Northern California. I'm with Baldy, Chris MacAskill. How are you, Chris?
I'm great, but I'm sitting a little too close to Trey for comfort. It makes me feel a little weird.
Well, we're just cuddled up here, San Francisco style.
So we can be seen on the same camera.
Yeah, and we have all kinds of people in here, but one person I especially invited was Colby Brown. How are you, Colby?
Doing pretty good, Trey. How about yourself, man?
Good. Where are you hanging out today?
My home state is actually Colorado, so I'm coming in from Denver today.
Okay, and if you're to give someone the nickel tour of Colby Brown, what would you say? How can we get to know you very quickly here?
I'm a fine art, nature, landscape photographer. Do lots of traveling, lots of exotic locations and whatnot, and just been I don't know, lately I've been really excited with Google Plus and been really active with social media and whatnot, which is excited while we're here. So
cool. I agree. It's pretty awesome. And where's your website? Where can people check you out?
So you guys can go to colbybrownphotography.com, which is COLBY, and then brown like the color. Pretty easy. And then obviously everything in Google Plus and whatnot as well, but pretty simple.
Awesome, great. Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to talk to you, and you're Mr. Mega Active on Google Plus. You make me look lazy.
Oh, I don't know about that, Trey. It's kind of hard to make you look bad, man.
No, and you're really doing a lot to help other photographers. It's fantastic. We'll talk all about that in a second. Let's see who else is here. Over in the leftmost square, we have Brian Matiash. Hey, Brian, what's up? You're muted. Google Plus calling over.
That's right. See, I'm trying to be courteous. What's going on, Trey?
Oh, not too much. You and I are old friends. I'm happy to see you in here. How are things going?
Things are going well. Just busy with On1 stuff and prepping for Photoshop World. So
what's it been like working at On1?
It's the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It allows me to be a photographer on my own terms, which is awesome.
That's great. You're you have a soft spot in my heart because you love the sweet sport of HDR.
You were definitely one of the earliest influences, and HDR is very, very important to me. And,
you're and you have all kinds of great photos, and you're sharing them all over. What is your website?
It's just BrianMatiash.com. It's at Brian, B-R-I-A-N, and Matiash, which is just so easy to spell as MATIASH.com. Excellente.
Okay, cool. And Christa, tell us about Christa.
So I'm a former model, and that's why I'm interested in photography, but I'm going into intellectual property litigation, and starting in September you can find me at Kirkland & Ellis.
Great, and you're gonna join me in a future hangout where we talk about IP and copyright and all that junk that people get all exercised about.
I'm already getting exercise just listening.
Hello, Dave Cox.
Hey guys,
give us your story.
Oh man, my story. I grew up a poor black child in the middle of Mississippi.
I don't think people here are old enough to get that joke, especially Shirly Lo.
Oh my God.
Yeah, plus size, exactly. Thank you. We run 11D. We do obviously photography, killer looking composites, a lot of fusion techniques going on. I put it briefly on our website. I'll edit it for appropriateness here, but our tagline is basically we make super epic, mind hole blowing. Why didn't I think of that? Damn, these guys are good. Holy crap. I didn't know that was possible type photos. So that's what we do.
All right, good. That's a good description of.
That's an awesome description.
Yeah, I dig it. And the ever-present and ubiquitous Keith Barrett. How are you today?
Fine, thank you, Trey.
You're muted.
Thank you, Trey. Thanks for having me.
You're my audio technical specialist.
I know, I'm sorry.
You're the man.
With that huge, enormous muted microphone.
I was being a good citizen,
So you just upgraded your studio, yes? Tell us what you did to your studio.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with the stutteriness of the first two Hangouts, so I did some rewiring so that the computer that's dedicated to doing Hangouts is on its own ISP, so it's separate from the computer that does the streaming, which is on a different ISP. So hopefully the Hangout now has all the bandwidth it wants.
Well, great. Thank you so much for doing this. It's
I love
fantastic.
doing this, as you know.
Yeah. Good. And we have, by the way, Lisa Bettany is coming to join us very soon. She's in an unmarked black car speeding down from San Francisco, and she should be here in about 15 minutes, yes?
I think it's an unmarked parked black car on the freeway close by in a traffic jam.
There's a few other nice people from SmugMug here. Let me aim the camera over here. You guys can introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, I'm Catherine. I'm on the marketing team here. I'm Caroline. I'm also on the marketing team.
She says she's on the marketing team, but she shoots weddings every weekend. She's a pretty fine photographer.
And she just got a D3S, so she's a Nikon girl after my own heart.
And she can't concentrate because the D3S has been back ordered, and she just got a call about 2 hours ago that it's going to be in tomorrow or Friday.
Tomorrow.
And now it's all she can think about and talk about. Yeah, I'm just jealous.
Hey, Scott Jarvie, tell us all about Scott in 7 seconds.
I'm Scott Jarvie. I spend a lot of time on Google Plus as well, and I travel. I'm a wedding photographer, and I do a lot of travel photography as I travel to weddings. And I do a lot of things SmugMug as well.
And you're about to be up in Sacramento to give a little talk, yes?
Yeah, I'm going to go hang out with Dave in the morning, and then go do a presentation in the evening, and then I'm going to leave here shortly to go to the photo walk with to go have dinner and photo walk with Thomas Hawk and some other folk up in San Francisco.
Excellent. That's cool.
So I'll have to ask Lisa which highway was bad and take the other one.
All the marketing gals are saying take 280, dude.
Yes.
And hello, William Bean. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I seem to be the only one that's sitting in the dark. But
It is dark. You're a little quiet, too. Can you either talk louder or amp up your mic?
I'll see if I bring it closer if it helps at all. And
Still a little bit quiet. Maybe we'll come back to you soon, maybe.
Sure.
In other words, we can hardly hear you.
And hello, Shirly Lo. How are you?
Hey Trey, good. How are you?
Is there anybody at Google that's been in more Hangouts than you?
I wouldn't know. Maybe.
I think it's possible that you are a Google bot, and you're like Clippy that's always just down in the corner.
I'm like the Tom of Hangouts. I'm just automatically at the end.
Yeah, you're all over the place. Well, it's good to see you, and you're you and your husband are both serious photographers, right?
Yep, and we started shooting HDR because we were inspired by Trey.
Well, you don't have to say that, but thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So Colby, you're Mr. Google Plus lately. Why? You're obviously one of these Type A guys, right? That does a million things in a day, right? So why did you choose to spend so many brain cycles on Google Plus?
Well, I think it was for a couple reasons. I think I saw the potential. I think with the media sharing and what Google Plus was offering as far as a social network that I felt was lacking in a lot of the other ones that were out there. So like other professional photographers, I have a presence on Twitter, and I have a presence on Flickr, and I got a 500 Pix account, and I have a Facebook account. And it's hard to juggle all those. And I think that most people have all those accounts because they feel that all those different sites offer them something that the other sites don't. So, Facebook has a certain appeal that maybe you don't get from Twitter. When Google Plus came out, I actually saw that it was trying to combine all the best assets of all those different networks into one kind of mega, media sharing and social interacting network. And I think I felt the photography industry was going to take kindly to it, and I think that bet paid off. I mean, there's more interaction on Google Plus for photographers, in my experience and from what I see out there, than anything else that's out there. And I think it's only going to get better. So it's actually kind of exciting.
Yeah, I totally agree. How fast has your traction been here on Google Plus? I mean, how fast have you gotten followers or circles compared to Twitter and Facebook and these sorts of things?
Honestly, I'd probably say it's about a 20-to-1 ratio as far as how fast things have grown. I mean, I was fortunate that I actually got an invite on the first day that Google Plus came active and started started networking and started figuring out a social media strategy for Google Plus that has been pretty beneficial for me. Currently, I think Google Plus has been out, and I may be wrong on the days, but I think it's like 38 days, and I have so far gained about almost 12,000 followers, which certainly doesn't necessarily equate to the size like that you have, Trey, or a few of the other kind of mega guys, but that's a pretty big number, and it's grown steadily and actually has seemed to increase as the photography industry continues to get more and more engaged. So it was much harder for me, and I think for most photographers, to develop a following on Facebook, which kind of feels almost like closed off clubs, and then Twitter, which is great for instant conversation, but is always, in my mind, was always like I was whispering in a concert and trying to have my voice heard. So it's a little bit different dichotomy that you have with social group interactions in Google Plus.
Yeah. What do you think about? Because you strike me as the kind of guy that doesn't you don't really have a big ego, or if you do, you just enjoy it on your own time, and you just like simply sharing. So tell me a little bit about your philosophical premise for how you go about this stuff, and I think a lot of people think that people just want followers for egotistical reasons, but I think with you that's not even an element. I think it goes deeper. So talk a little bit about that.
Right. Well, I think that, the photography industry in general is fairly egocentric in the sense that we're aesthetic beings. So we like pretty photos, we do pretty things, and I think any photographer that says they don't like recognition is probably lying to themselves. Although I'm sure there's exceptions. I've felt that as the industry has changed so drastically over the last 10 to 20 years, that the photographers that have stepped in front of the changing game are the ones that are standing out, are the ones that are making a living, are the ones that are living their dreams, so to speak. In reality, our industry is very romanticized as far as what it's like to be a professional photographer, and I think that comes with a lot of misconceptions, and I think that by engaging people, by being open with education, by sharing my experiences, I'm very fortunate in all the travel and the jobs that I get to get on, and the work that I've done all around the world. And I've always felt that if I wasn't able to share that in some form or fashion, that it was kind of, it was missing something. And I think that photography in general gives me a great outlet in order to share those experiences, in order to share my knowledge that I've accrued mostly through the hard way, because I actually taught photography myself, and while I certainly took some business classes in college and whatnot, I've had to learn a lot of those mistakes, making them myself. But the photographers that are closed off, the ones that don't share information on how they do photos, the ones that are living in living like it's 1990s in the photography industry, I think are getting passed by. And I think people, as more and more people enter the photography industry, I don't want to necessarily say that they're becoming full-time photographers. There's more room for education, there's more room for inspiration, there's more room for people to get excited about photography as an art form, whether that be as professionals, whether that be as a hobbyist, or someone that wants to do a semi-pro, which I think are a lot of people out there that like to shoot and make some money and then do their day job on the side. And so the more the wealth that you share, the more open that you are, in my personal experience, you're received 10 times in a much more friendly manner. And I think it's much more beneficial, not only from a business standpoint, again, being that I do this full time, but also just on a personal level. I mean, not everyone gets the opportunity to go work around Mount Everest and travel in Nepal. Not everyone got a chance to go to Haiti and do some humanitarian work after the earthquake. Not everyone gets to do some of these amazing things that we get to do. And if those people not only get a glimpse of life outside of their own bubble, but also at the same time gets to further their skills or to live somewhat vicariously, I think it's a great experience. And it's not necessarily for everyone as far as being able to teach and whatnot, but there's something that we can learn from everyone, and I think that's a key and something that for me has played out really well with Google+. Again, coming back to the interactions. I mean, I've never seen anything like this as far as digital social media on the level and the quality of personable interactions that has really made a difference for so many photographers, including myself.
Yeah, it's really engaging. There's something very soft and fun and intellectual about the UI where you can just be easily stimulated visually and then provide feedback and just get into the mix. It's I think the effortlessness of it makes it fun.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, as a simplistic design, and again, I think that also comes back to aesthetics and the photography industry as a whole. I mean, we like pretty things, as I mentioned before, and having a UI that is built well and that also allows to adapt to a dynamic and changing demand, if that's the correct term, as far as other social networks where they talk about Facebook or Twitter as the two main colossal behemoths. It takes a lot for them in order to make changes, and because Google Plus is so new and we only have 20 to 30 million people on it, and how it was coded, it's actually really exciting. I mean, I know that there's been a handful of small but meaningful updates that have really made the experience that much better, which already started out on a great note. So it's it's a little bit twofold. I mean, a lot of the other networks can't catch up to those changes, and you have Facebook have issues with privacy, and then it takes them forever to change things and do whatever it is, and Twitter's doing their own thing, and so it's Google Plus is certainly taking advantage of the excitement that's around it because it's new, but I think that as they continue to update and innovate and bring all the other Google Doc applications into it, I think it's going to get better and better, and it's I don't know, like I said, it's exciting. It's fun times.
Yeah, it is fun times. Hey, Michelle Hedstrom, I skipped over you in introductions. I apologize. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
That's okay, Trey. I feel like the redheaded stepchild in here anyways, amongst all you guys. I'm currently in the Denver area. I actually live about 15 minutes from Colby, believe it or not. I do sports and concert photography currently for the Denver version of Examiner.com. And my website is actually ogrephotography.com, ogre as in the green ogre.
All right. And how long have you had that website up?
That particular website, probably, I would say 6 to 8 months.
Okay. And does that help get you new clients when you show people your portfolio?
Working on that part.
Okay. It's okay. I think everybody's working on that part. It's all right. And hello, Rob Kumas. Is that how I say your name? Oh, I can't hear you. I think you've muted.
Chris. Rob Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was kind of far away. My eyes are getting old. And,
I had to find my unmute button there.
And what do you do in real life?
I sell popcorn and soda for a living.
All right. Everyone likes popcorn and soda. All right.
I own an independent movie theater in Melbourne, Florida, close to the Space Coast Center. So
okay.
Yeah, sell popcorn and soda. I'm the first 100% Dolby Digital cinema in America, and love showing movies. But I've always liked taking photographs, and I just discovered you through Google Plus, and just started experimenting with HDR photography. And I was in Napa last week, took a bunch of photos, and tried Photo Mix and Photoshop, downloaded everything, and I like the results I've gotten so far, but they're not quite anywhere close to what you do. So I'm going to have to take your actual online courses, I think.
Well, you look like a paid plant in here, but
no, definitely not.
Yeah, HDR is fun. I think even when you just start out and you're not that great at it, it's still fun. That's sort of one of the secret sauces that people coming back for more.
Definitely.
It's nice to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, speaking of followers and stuff, Brian, what's your experience been like on Google Plus compared to Twitter and Facebook and all those other things? Has it been a really nice run for you?
Yeah, it has. I mean, Colby kind of hit it on the head in terms of the rates. If you compare this just the sheer number of followers, say for instance between Twitter and Google Plus, to and the duration to achieve those followers. Google Plus, I'm about 7,500. Yeah, just broke 7,500 people in circles, and a lot of that does have to do. I do attribute actually a lot of it to Colby, even though I give Colby. I mean, it's almost like a joy to make fun of Colby as often as I can, but he's become a good friend, and we've actually become sounding boards for each other for ideas. And it's a symbiotic thing. Get more people in your circle so that you can share the information that you have to maximize the people. So I think, Trey, the reason why we have these strong followers is because it's a unique opportunity. It's not every day that a powerhouse like Google creates a social media network or social media network. And those who have more of a aggressive personality, like you and like Colby, you get in there and you just offer your work and you offer your insight, and that's what people are most receptive to. So that's kind of what I got in as well, just like posting images with context. It's what I'm never a fan of just posting an image. I always try to put some sort of anecdote or some context to the shot, and I think people are receptive to that. And I think we're in a unique situation right now, us specifically, the people who have all these followers, to mold the etiquette of, at least within the photography community of Google+, because it's almost hard to remember that there are other people, non-photographers in Google+, to how to conduct a hangout, how to maximize people to follow you. So.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear you say. I always like to hear people's perspectives on this. Well, speaking of non-photographers, by the way, I'm going to take a little tour of the SmugMug offices here in a while. They have beautiful photos from all kinds of photographers, and Baldy knows all about them, so he'll introduce you guys to some new photos and some new photographers that maybe you didn't know, and they love it here, and they've got some really nice art. So anyway, back to speaking of non-photographers, Christa, the dreaded lawyer in the group, tell us about why you like Google Plus and what you get out of it.
Well, I love using Google Plus to meet new people. You definitely can find a lot of intelligent people with similar interests, I think especially in this early phase of Google Plus. And, frankly, the one reason that draws everyone to the photographers on Google Plus is the great photography function that you can just look through photographs and nothing else in that photo stream. So I think that definitely makes photographers the most popular members on Google Plus.
Yeah, I think, we're all kind of in this photography bubble, and so it seems like photographers everywhere. But it is one of the most quickly digestible, nice media things to fly by. And, we are humans, and we like visual things, and I think that's one reason photographers have done well. I try to be totally objective about it, but I think people are more likely to look at a photo than click on a video.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm still trying to get my head around it all myself. Hey, Colby, I had asked you before the show to come up with a little story that you thought people might like. And you mentioned about when you first got into photography and you started getting paid for it. And I think this is like a lot of people's dream, is to do something that they love and get paid for it without making too many compromises artistically. So can you tell us your little story? Oh,
Yeah,
here's Lisa. Hold on.
How are you?
Good. Here, we'll get you. Here, sit there. That one's already warm and a little bit wet.
A little bit wet. Oh.
I was getting a little creeped out sitting too close to Trey. And now we're both going to creep you out by having you sandwiched between us.
Awesome.
I'm Chris, by the way.
Hi,
Otherwise known as Baldy.
Steve.
Sorry about the traffic on the way down.
Oh, my goodness.
We have to squeeze in here to be seen. We're not really.
Okay, this is how we look.
We're
Okay.
not really trying to make you creeped out, but it's
These are
going to
white
come.
chairs.
It's going to come.
She could sit on your lap, Baldy. Okay.
I can help I'm too close because she's going to be leaning towards you.
Okay, so Colby was just about to give us one of his tales of ribaldry about how he got into photography and everything. So let us have it, Colby.
Yeah, sure. So I actually wrote about this, so some of you may have read it before. I posted it last week. But after I graduated, well, I guess first off, when I was in college, I was fortunate to be able to travel intermittently. So I'd take like a year off and go traveling when I got bored with class and whatnot, and ended up spending some time in New Zealand and Australia and Costa Rica doing some Habitat for Humanity type of trips. And I got the travel bug, and so when I actually graduated from college, studying something completely not related to photography, I tried an 8-to-5 job. I had a suit and tie and worked in an office, and really hated it. And I knew I wasn't necessarily going to like it, but I kind of wanted to try anyway. And so, needless to say, about 6 months later, I woke up one morning and I was like, this just isn't for me. And I sold pretty much everything that I had. I had a truck at the time, and I sold that, and sold all my furniture that I had accrued throughout college, which wasn't that much, and it was college furniture, so it's kind of cheap. But regardless, I ended up actually moving up to Vancouver, Canada. I'm actually a dual citizen, even though I was born in Berkeley, California, not too far from SmugMug offices, at least in relation. And I up there, it was that I learned that I really wanted to travel, and it was like I actually hear a lot, because I teach a lot of workshops of how do I become a travel photographer? How do I travel around the world? And I was that person. I was like, I want to travel. How do I make this happen? My parents had actually bought a Digital Rebel Canon camera at the same time, and I was like, maybe I can try to learn to see what I'm doing with this. So I bought my own camera. I bought a bunch of books, and started teaching myself the fundamental aspects of photography, a lot of the physics of light and reflection, and the indirect relationships with ISO and shutter speed, and all that fun stuff that we all kind of eat up these days. And I started traveling around British Columbia and taking a lot of really bad photos. And it was through those photos that I actually started to develop, an eye, so to speak, for composition and for understanding those technical terms that I was reading
Colby,
through the book.
did you start with those first photos? Did you share them right away, or did you?
No. This was about 8 years ago, so this was before kind of social media really started picking up. I mean, Facebook was still just kind of getting out of its infancy and stuff like that. So I'd share it with friends and family, and it was honestly it was very similar to kind of what I see on things like Flickr, where it's like upload a photo and it's like a pat in the back. You know what I mean? It's like having your family or your friends be like, hey, your work's amazing. While it builds up your ego just slightly, it doesn't really give you anything as far as constructive criticism or help you make better. And so, I mean, what I would do is I would become my own critic. So I would look at the photos and, say 1 out of every 30 or 50 or whatever it was turned out pretty okay. And so I'd compare that with the other ones and be staring at my computer screen for hours a day and be like, why was this good? Why were these crap? And over time, over a handful of months, I started to get more confident and feel good about it. And then I actually woke up one morning, apparently all my revelations happen at night, and I was like, you know what, I really actually want to go explore Southeast Asia. And again, I had saved up money, so I was kind of just being a little bit of a nomad at the time. And a couple of days later, I bought a one-way ticket to Bangkok. And on the plane ride over was a woman that was from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And she'd been going out to Thailand, to the Krabi Peninsula, to go climbing on the limestone cliffs out there in Riley. And her friend was a photographer, and they were. She had fallen in love with a local Thai guy. She was actually going to get married, and her friend had to back out at the last second. So I'd come fresh off of just buying my first camera like 4 months ago. Apparently, I was pretty good at talking myself up enough to convince her that I was a good hire, and be it that it wasn't actually a super big paying job. I ended up getting hired to shoot a traditional Buddhist wedding in a rural village in southern Thailand as my first paying job ever. So it was a really unique experience, and it was really eye-opening and really helped show that I, not only was I passionate about it, I also had a lot to learn. And that was kind of the first piece that gave me an inkling that I knew that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life, and I knew that it was going to allow me to travel, even though I knew that there was a heck of a lot more to it that I'd eventually have to learn. So it was it was a really unique experience. Like I said, I mean, the Buddhist weddings, I don't shoot weddings now. I mean, we had Scott Jarvie on here earlier, and he's a phenomenal wedding photographer. It's not my bag, so to speak. but just that experience and, you know, being around a culture that has such high contrast levels to how we live our lives here in the West, just kind of fueled that travel bug. And then the fact that I actually did a halfway decent job with it, I got paid for it. I realized that this was a reality, that people are able to do this type of stuff. And that gave me the confidence to spur forward. And then 3 years after that, I landed my first job with National Geographic, teaching photography, adventure travel photography for them in Ecuador for a while. And I think that if I didn't have that first initial job and I didn't have that lucky break, it would have been much more difficult. And I probably wouldn't be sitting here today.
So what kind of clients do you get now that keep you traveling around? I know you have all sorts of various irons in the fire. But what's a more typical way that gets you someplace exotic? Because I think a lot of people would like to do what you do.
Right. Well, it's I mean, like you said, I think you hit an important point, which is I have a lot of sticks in the fire. So as a, you know, quote unquote fine art nature landscape photographer, it's kind of like a dime a dozen these days. And I don't mean that to diminish some of the amazing photographers that we have. And Chris, I know you guys got actually some amazing photographers having some images in the SmugMug office that Trey, I think, will show us later. But it certainly is a challenge. I mean, for me, myself, I make a living through print sales, through gallery work, through some of these contracts, which I'll mention in a second, and then also through photo education. And for me, that's a much more realistic business model for my specific genre in photography than, say, someone that does obviously just does studio work. Or different aspects. So for me, on occasion, I still do some work with National Geographic, who's a phenomenal company. They'll be the first to admit they actually don't pay a ton. It's one of those, again, fantasies where people are like, oh, this is absolutely amazing, I want to work for National Geographic. Well, everything's independent contractor these days, so it's a little bit different. I also do work with like Sierra Club, but when I do a trip like earlier this fall when I went to, or earlier this spring actually, when I went to Nepal, I also tie it to a bunch of different things. So half the time I'm doing some freelance work that I end up coming back and putting my work up in galleries and selling it. The other time I'll also write some stories and do some work for, say, the Sierra Club, like I did with writing some articles and providing photos for some glacier recession pieces. And then other times where it's a little bit more direct, where it is something like National Geographic will actually pay you to go somewhere. But these days, it's a little bit of everything. And I think that's also an important lesson to learn for most photographers, and I imagine it's the same with yourself as well, Trey, and the other professionals here in the Hangout, is that, you know, we are fortunate to do what we need to, fortunate to follow our dreams, to follow our passions, but in reality, you know, we can't put all our eggs in one basket. I mean, the market's too volatile, so to speak, and so, you know, why most people used to be able to rely on stock photography and you know, 40,000 images, maybe like people like William Nell or some of the great photographers of the 80s and 90s, it just doesn't exist anymore, and it's a different market, and you know, that kind of brings us full circle to social media and everything that we're doing, getting our name out there. For me, filling workshops is phenomenal, which is actually a good plug, and I'm actually teaching a workshop tomorrow with On One Software and Brian, so I didn't mention that earlier, and I really wanted to. I'll give you guys a link
plug away. There's no shame in plugging your workshop.
For sure. It's On One Software /webinar. It's actually it's interesting because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about now, I'm actually going to be covering tomorrow, where you can ask questions. It's going to be live. It's at 1 o'clock. Or 1 o'clock Mountain Time, but if you can't make it and you're working, you can send us an email and I'll answer your questions and whatnot.
Okay, so do I have to pay for this thing?
All free, completely free.
All right then. What a deal. It's worth it at twice the price.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you mind if I ask a question about prints? Because I feel like I'm a complete noob in this area, because I have actually never printed one of my photos. It's crazy, but I've never done it because I rarely find the time to actually go through my work and go through that process. But I'm wondering, you know, what could I do? Like, how do I even get started in getting, you know, prints for sale? Like what's the process?
Well, first you have to get rid of your dot matrix printer. That do you no favors. You can tear off the little things on the side. That's no way to sell your work. Are you asking how do you sell prints online, or how do you do your own personal prints?
No, obviously, like I want, you know, people ask me, they want to buy my pictures. Like, you know, I'm here at SmugMug. Like, tell me how do I do this for people like me who might have, you know, photography that they want to start selling. Like,
Chris, why don't you answer her?
Break it
Chris
down.
SmugMug, seller of prints, a local merchant of prints.
Well, it's funny because the design point of SmugMug originally was to allow your photos to look beautiful. So take up every pixel of the screen. You can fully customize it, sort of like you do a WordPress blog and so on. And I thought prints were going to die. It was all going to go digital. That's what we thought back in 2002, that was old and dead and prints wouldn't happen. And now prints are 50% of our revenue, and we have photographers who sell hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of prints per year. And I just cannot believe how busy we keep the labs. So we were dead wrong about paper dying, and it was sort of like Xerox in the 80s or something. So we created a commerce experience. There's a buy button that's not too obtrusive, but it's there. And it allows either you or your customers to buy prints. You choose the lab, and you choose the products, and you set the prices and the finishes available and all that stuff. So you winnow down, what's available. So the labs that we currently support are Bay Photo in Santa Cruz, which I think is the best pro lab in the country. It's not the biggest, but boy, we'll show you around some of the metal prints they sell and canvas and high fiber papers and so on. They're the only lab I know of that's really good at hand color correction. So especially if they're skin tones, you're a wedding photographer, child portrait photographer. Just check the little box that says color correction on. And at first, it's like parting with your babies. It just seems impossible to do it.
That's maybe why I haven't done it, because I feel like all of my photography, everything I do is just for the web. So I feel like my photos look great on the web, but I'm kind of concerned with, especially when I started out, I was shooting with, Rebel XTI. So I'm worried about the quality of those pictures.
I think it's the color and contrast that's the most difficult thing to hit on a print, because unfortunately you have more control now with good quality monitors and people using more Macs and so on about the way things will look on a computer screen than you do the way they look on a print. And the reason is some people are going to look at it under fluorescent light. Some people their rooms are going to be bright. Some people are going to look at it under tungsten light, which is a lot warmer. And so, but there are all these studies that are done, and Bay Photo has their own, we have ours and so on. We're constantly doing taste tests of how people like prints done. Sorry I'm so close to you, but otherwise I can't be in there.
Lobster hands.
I keep looking at Lisa thinking, whoa, I should be off frame. But anyway, and there's probably a lot of other people who think that too. How about closer to Lisa? But so there's this kind of target chart of people's taste preferences. And generally for Northern American, Northern European preferences, north is warmer and south is cooler. East is less contrast and west is more contrast. They like it north, or I got it backwards. They like it a little warmer than you expect. So we go a little bit north and a little bit more contrast than you expect. It depends on the type of photography. Landscape, much more contrast. Brides, not so much. I see Colby nodding up and down there. There'll be some differences of opinion, but we're trying to hit the averages the best we can so that we get the fewest returns. But I take prints all the time. I can show you in my office and print them side by side with different color points and contrasts and all that kind of stuff, and put them in front of audiences or one-on-ones, and we do a scattergram of who likes what. And some people will look at a photo. A pro photographer will look at one of them and say, oh, that's awful. I can't stand it. And the other one will say, that's exactly how I want it. So Bay Photo has so much experience in doing it that a lot of photographers like myself and a lot of top pros just say, you know what, I'm going to get it close. Bay Photo can put the finishing touch on it. And some other people are just fanatical about getting it exactly right because they think they know, so I'm looking at one who's like that. They think they know what light their customers are going to look at it under, how subdued the lighting in the home is, what kind of print surfaces they're picking, and so on. And it's your choice. You can turn on auto color correction or not, but I can tell you that 70% of our print volume is auto color or human color corrected at Bay Photo.
What do you use, Colby, for prints?
I've actually heard amazing things about Bay Photo, and I know a few colleagues and good friends that actually use them and swear by them. But I personally never had my stuff printed. For me, I actually use get my stuff done through Miller's Lab, which is actually the parent, or I guess I don't know if it's the sister company to MPix, who's very popular for your average person getting photos of, their kids and their cats and families and all that fun stuff. For me, it's always been super high quality. For me, I also, going what Chris was talking about with color correction and whatnot, I mean, there's such subjectivity to that. I don't even let Miller's do my color correcting. I do everything myself, and it's great. When I first set up with them, they actually sent me a demo kit of a few of my images that I selected out and showed me the difference in their color correction and what was going on, and setting color profiles and all this fun stuff, which is much more technical than probably this Hangout is ready for. But it's for me, it was great. I mean, they certainly have a little bit more limitations. At least when I originally signed up, I had to basically showcase that I order so many prints because I have gallery work a lot up all over the place, and also have sell a lot of prints through my online store and through the galleries as well. So I have to meet a X number of prints as far as monetary number each year in order to continue using their service. That may have changed. Honestly, I haven't checked the terms of agreement in a while, but when I first signed up, that was a requirement. So it was only typically used for professional photographers. And because of the sheer number that you are going to order, $2,000, $4,000, $8,000, $10,000 worth of prints each year, you also get a discount from their average prices that are very similar to what MPix is as far as like the printing quality and stuff like that. They use similar printers and Kodak Endura and metallic prints and stuff like that. So, but when it comes to like metallic prints, honestly, like I said, not to give another plug to Bayphoto, but I've heard absolutely amazing things about Bayphoto for their metallic stuff.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Bayphoto has a metallic finish. There's both Kodak and Fuji make papers with metallic finish. And it's really nice. It's like a super gloss, and it has a certain look to it, which is really great. But they also print on metal, and the color saturation on metal is incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, I wish it would transmit well over Google+, but I'll show Lisa and Trey what it looks like. It's really incredible.
All this seems like really fancy pants to me.
I mean, when you see it, you'll fall in love with it, and then I'll buy you a metal print. You send me a photo, I'll get you a metal print.
I think beyond that, for me, it's just I want it to be easy, right? Like,
it is easy. They're going through every possible combination of permutation because they're nerds, but it's actually incredibly easy. You just go there and hit print.
Basically, I want...
You pick your paper and you're done.
Yeah. To just be a really easy... Because I don't have a lot of time to mess with that kind of thing, and I think at this point in my photography career, I just want to be able to spend like a day, do this, put a little link on my blog and be like, hey, now you can buy my photos.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's easy.
That's what we do.
SmugMug's for you. It's perfect.
Hey, Michael, welcome to the Hangout. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Where are you today?
I'm in Buffalo, New York.
Are you a photographer person?
I am an amateur photographer, just in the middle of taking your class right now.
Well, we're all learning together. Do you love photography? Yes.
I do.
Good. That's what amateur means. I think it's French for. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
We have a French speaker here. She says yes. Hey, Shirley, your print back there. How did you get that printed?
Oh, it was an HDR, and it was taken in Maine, in Acadia National Park.
I can barely hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes. What kind of paper is that on and everything? Or how did you decide to get that printed?
What kind of paper is that?
Premium photo.
Yeah, it's a premium photo paper. It's supposed to last for a lot of years, more than normal.
Where did you order it from? What company?
It was professionally done, Pen Camera.
From where?
It's a local camera store.
Oh, one of your local stores? Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people still print locally. They're kind of afraid to do it online, but I've ordered online from many different places. I get my metal stuff done from Image Wizards. I never tried Bayphoto, but I've heard good things. On metal, I do it on high white gloss aluminum. You heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
He knows what I mean. Don't laugh. It's the best. Yeah, I like trying all printing styles. It's although I'm really not an expert at it either. I just send off a JPEG and
yeah,
wait.
see what you get.
Well, I printed a couple of your photos, and I printed them on film in a light box. We're going to show that today, and it just makes, so that's one of the things. Most prints depend on the light that falls on the print, like that one, most prints you've seen. But I think a growing trend is to see them like you see on your computer monitor, which is to put light behind it. So I've printed a couple of trays on on photographic film and put it in a light box. You see them, of all things, for the McDonald's menus and fast food restaurants. You see them at airports and so on. But they're usually for advertising posters. And but they're just lovely for photographs.
I like that he says my print is basically use the same technology as a McDonald's menu. Sorry, that's not the way to sell it.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Happy meal, Trey.
All right, well, let's go walk around the office. By the way, in case any of you guys are wondering, SmugMug doesn't pay me for this or anything. I'm kind of at this point in my career life or whatever where I just kind of do whatever I think is awesome, and I partner with people that I think are awesome, and I know it seems like a big SmugMug ad or whatever, but it's just a cool company. And if you talk to hundreds of other photographers, they'll just agree with me. They just kind of they're just cool. So anyway, don't think this is a big ad or anything. I just think it's neat, and their offices are famous for these photos, and that's the other reason I'm going to show you guys around. Great. You want to carry?
I'm jealous, Chris. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get some of my stuff up in SmugMug too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sneak it in with Jarvie next time.
Okay, well, talk to me before you sell anything, because I know their price sensitivity.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and you can see I have it clicked on. I have it on. Here, I'm going to show you guys who's carrying the camera. She's going to be the camera carrier, Catherine from marketing. Hello, Catherine.
Hi, guys.
Thank you. So she's going to be like one of those robots that walks around the office holding a camera. So you can look, if you look at the screen, then you can see where it's aiming and so on and so forth. Okay,
Let's
leave
throw
it
that
here.
Chris. Yeah, let's throw it here. So I mentioned light boxes. I hope the camera can pick this up okay. Because these are pretty bright. Yeah, so these are pretty bright. I'll stand over here in the corner a little bit. When we moved into this building, we were a little self-conscious because we started as a family company, and we were bootstrapped, and we saw that Google was getting all this attention, and Stanford was getting attention, Pixar. Those are all the places that everybody wanted to see when they came to the Silicon Valley. And here was poor SmugMug down by the railroad tracks in an old machine shop, and it seemed like we were getting ignored. So we thought, oh, let's put beautiful photos up on the wall, and we got normal photos that were beautiful. And we put them up on the wall, but everybody just kind of shrugged because they're the kind of photos you can see on Flickr or SmugMug or any number of other sites. So we decided, we're going to do this different. We're going to make them really big. So this photo is actually 72 inches big, which is about as big as you can get on one snap. So let's move this back just a little bit so you can see the whole thing. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous landscape. Thank you. I'll stand here so that they could see the photo. Just like, here, I'll hold it for just a second. I hope you can all see that. So I printed it 72 inches big because the guy shot it with a film camera that was 6 by 7 centimeters, a medium format camera. Lisa's over there stroking because she thinks it's beautiful.
It's warm.
And it's warm. And I printed on a regular paper print, but it didn't stand out and glow like that. And this photographer, he's a Chinese photographer by the name of Liping Jia. His trademark is he shoots with very long lenses. This is a 300-millimeter lens. So it makes the mountains look dramatic. They rise steeply. The clouds thunder up in the background. I don't know if you can see there are some mountains hidden in the fog in the background. You would think this was an HDR photo shot by Trey, but actually we scanned the film, and that is as it came off the film. So his other trademark is two that I think really set him apart. Number one, he knows how to get to places where people don't normally go. You probably don't recognize these mountains. They're in China, and he's Chinese and knew how to get to these beautiful scenes. And he sends a scout up there ahead of time to let him know when the weather is really exceptional. And so that's what he did. And it's one of my favorite landscapes, along with Trey's, of course, and many others. And I tried to find another photo to go on the wall opposite it, and I couldn't find one as vibrant that didn't get overshadowed by Leaping's stuff. I'm sorry about the reproductive quality here on this little laptop. the Chinese mountains, I think James Cameron must have modeled Avatar after these mountains or got inspiration because they're so Avatar-like and they're so unique. When people come up here and look at them, they just say, wow, where is that? I got to go there.
It is where he got the idea from.
Is it?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where we started. And they did get attention and get admiration, but it wasn't enough. And on all the top 10 lists of see in Silicon Valley, we weren't on it. And that was a problem. So
and then you got Batman.
We got Batman, and that was really good for the geeks. And people like that. But we decided, you know what? If 72 inches is as big as we can go with a normal camera, we have walls that are bigger than that. Lisa's really liking Batman.
I do. I like him.
And
doing some power squats.
good muscle definition, the whole thing. So we thought, well, you know, we've got walls that are 150 inches high. What if we filled up every square inch of wall with a super high-res shot? Where could we get such a shot? So we experimented with this one. I don't know how I'm going to get far enough back to show you this one. This is the Duomo Cathedral, and this is our lunchroom at SmugMug, and I'm going to come back a few tables. Can you see me now? No, I have to go all the way across the room. This is a 150-inch high print. Trey's giving a little bit of scale to it. You can see Trey in there, and so it turns out that for us and all our visitors, what really makes a difference, Lisa's trying to go in the door, what really makes a difference, what really makes a big print is that you can see detail you can't see in a normal print. So if you went to Milan, I'm looking at Lisa, how close can you get to that without seeing pixels or lack of sharpness?
It's close.
So you got eyes that focus really close.
Yeah, no, it's like very lifelike, very sharp.
So at this size, it's 200 dots per inch at 150 inches high. And that means you see things like, I don't know if you can see the woman in red is repeating herself several times because there's like 100 shots that make up this thing. I shot it with a 300 millimeter lens, and it's 100 shots. And so if you were to go to Milan, Italy, where this is, it's one of the most magnificent cathedrals in the world, you would not be able to see. You could see the little people down there. You would not be able to see this magnificent artwork, all these life-size statues that are almost 5 centuries old. This cathedral took 5 centuries to build. It's made of the most magnificent stone. These sculptures are so amazing. So you would think, well, it's not photographically excellent. There's no clouds. There's no lightning hitting the turrets. But that isn't what really matters to people. What really matters to people is they want to see the detail in the cathedral. They get lost in the art. And the people standing here now, 5 of us, I think are the only people in the world who can see all these statues in the Duomo Cathedral. You can't see it if you visit Milan, either with the roof tour or whatever. And so this just stops people in their track. They keep coming back to it. They show their relatives this shot. And so we thought, all right, this is stepping it up a little bit. And so Scoble came by and saw this shot, and some others will show you, and said, oh, SmugMug's the most interesting place to visit in Silicon Valley. And we thought, oh, hey, that's pretty good.
That's what Scoble says.
Yeah. Well, if Scoble says it, it must be true, right? Yeah. So we thought, okay, we're on this. But actually, we felt a lot of pressure to step it up and do building 2.0 with a lot of bigger shots and put some Trey stuff on the walls and things like that. So we experimented with more lightbox stuff. We used to have a rule that said, you can stand by that and I'll back off so they can see it. We used to have a rule that said either we shoot the photo or our customers shoot the photo or it doesn't go on the wall. That's another tall one. But you know what? None of us have the Hubble telescope. And so we decided, you know what? We better break our rule for the Hubble because it was so spectacular. But
I recognize this one.
Yeah, so we have this floral garden here, and what goes with it extremely well is this photo I fell in love with a long time ago.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites of Trey's.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites of Trey's too. Why don't you guys describe it, and I'll shut up for a minute.
Oh, okay, I'll describe it.
Well, there's all these bamboo things here. And
well, so this probably doesn't come across on video at all, but because it's backlit. Let me get it really close here. Let me swap. Because I know I can see it's getting blown out. But let me get a little closer here. Yeah, it's still getting a little blown out. But because of this lighting method, it looks like the sun is actually coming through like it was that day. And this was kind of lucky lighting because, well, it was lucky and unlucky. I waited forever to get this shot. And it was a wide-angle lens, so I aimed it upwards. And when I aimed it upwards, everything leans in with a wide-angle lens. So I like that feeling of being kind of like, almost like you're an insect in the grass. And it had just rained earlier in the day, so the tops of the trees still were holding moisture. And in the late afternoon, it started to trickle down, and the sun came out. So it gave it all this sort of ethereal glow. And then one thing that kind of helps the shot, too, is everything was glowing green in this sort of bright, almost neon, grassy green. And I think it would have been a little bit more boring if it wasn't for these dark black trees that sort of trace these unexpected lines, because I think what the eye does is it kind of glosses across the greenness, and it catches onto a black line, and that takes you to a different part of the photo, and then you graze across it, you catch another dark thing, and you follow it up. And so I think that kind of helps guide people's eyes around the photo.
The path, and like that it's highlighted by the red grass, and there's this path, and kind of.
It is one tip for shooting. Forests are always really, really hard to shoot. Yeah. If any of you guys have ever tried to shoot forests, they always just come out blah. Yeah. But one thing humans like to see kind of anthropologically in almost any nature shot is if you show a path, then humans like to envision themselves walking down that path to get fresh water or find game, or to see a game trail or something. It's sort of deep within us. So I was lucky there was a nice path there. Okay, but enough. Let's look at something else.
Yeah, so that's something else. We can't get enough of Trey. So why don't you take us down and show us the final night of the shuttle?
We'll do this one.
Go ahead.
So, can you see it okay? There, stop. Okay. Aim down a little bit. So, there's a light behind this one, too. This one was really special to me because this was the final night that the space shuttle was on Earth, on the launch pad, and this is the final launch of the final space shuttle ever. And it also happened to be on my 40th birthday, which made me feel old, but also kind of nice because I was out, doing what I loved on this momentous day or whatever.
Wow, 40 is old, but you don't look it.
Clean living. Actually, I'm just good at justifying my behavior. So. The thing about it is that it was super duper muggy outside, and there's mosquitoes everywhere. And this puddle was not quite that big, and you had to lay down, face down in it. And I had to crane up, because you get that position with your neck sometimes. Yes. You guys know what I mean. When you're on a tripod, you just got to get your neck into this just ridiculous position and hold it there while you take all the photos. So, and my assistant was there with me. Scott, and he was supposed to be, helping me. And there were like mosquitoes everywhere, and they're all sucking my blood all over me. And I get up, and I'm covered in mosquitoes. I was looking for his help because he's supposed to be brushing this stuff off me, and he's overtaking his own photos and off doing his own thing. But anyway, I got a better photo than him, so that's okay. So that's the story of this photo. And let's go look at other photographers, please.
All right, so there is a photo in the hall that is the most popular photo on our walls. No offense to you, yours would be super extra popular if you grant my wish and shoot a really big megapixel shot that I can print enormous. But so far, I ask in vain of Trey, and he hasn't delivered yet. So everybody put pressure on Trey so he can shoot a really marvelous, huge photo for SmugMug. Let's take a look down this hall. I'm not sure our Wi-Fi goes down there. And so I have to be careful. Go ahead, Lisa. So there's a photo down this hall. Are we watching? Can we see the bars on the Wi-Fi?
No, let me do this move. We have 4 bars.
So I'm going to walk a little further. Somebody ought to, Trey, why don't you walk ahead of me and make sure I'm not going to drop connection here.
Okay. Stand by Lisa. She's half made of metal.
Yeah.
She's an attenuator.
How are we doing?
We're good.
Okay, so this photo was inspired by Trey. It's Prague, and I'm sorry there's a little bit of glare coming in the door down the hallway. I'm going to block that off so it doesn't do that. We have track lighting on this photo to make it look nice. There are 300 shots in this photo, and I'm going to try to walk this way. We have a hallway that connects our suites, and the important thing is that we can't just have we're a photography company. We just can't have a wall that's boring to walk by. You want something that really captures interest, that every time you go by, you see new details you hadn't seen before. So this is an HDR photo. I paid a lot of attention to Trey's ebooks before I read it. The top 10 mistakes in HDR photography. And so this one tortured me a little bit because the sky had some black clouds in it, which Trey said is, no, can't do that. And so I really had to work the sky to make it less HDR-ish. And so I think the hardest thing about shooting big photos is the best light is changing light. And how are you going to shoot 300 frames when the light is changing? And the light was changing here very rapidly. It was snowing, it was raining. I had a 25-minute window to shoot this shot, and I just shot like crazy, you know, to get all the shots and get out of there before it started snowing. And I thought that any minute something would happen and it would stop. And I'm sorry you can't take in the whole thing, you know, but that just means you all have to come visit SmugMug's headquarters.
Hey, Chris, is that a gigapin?
It's big. The print is about 84 inches high and 40 feet wide. So it's multi-gigapixel, and the file is like huge.
Hey, Chris, somebody asked a question.
Yeah, Chris, was that a gigapan? Did you use a gigapan head on that, or how did you take it?
You know, I've never successfully used a gigapan head. I've tried, but I just haven't been able to do it. And the reason is I can't take things at regular intervals. There's always a truck going by, a car going by. Here, I can move over this. No. Okay. Yeah, there's always, well, the light's better over this way, and I like this shot. So there's always something going on. Birds flying in front of you, snow falling off branches, you know, pedestrians walking by and vibrating the ground. When I shoot a shot like this, I always use a long lens. And I like a long lens because it compresses the distance and makes it look more dramatic. I do it partly because Leaping Jaw inspired me with those Chinese photos. And I just like that perspective where things come in a lot. So when vibration becomes more and more of an enemy, this was shot with a 135, the Canon 135. The Duomo Cathedral that you saw upstairs was shot with a 300, but some of them I shoot with a 800mm lens. That's the next photo we'll show you.
That's a honkin' lens.
That's a honkin' lens. From on top of Twin Peak in San Francisco where it's windy, and everywhere I've shot, you know, I'm fighting vibration. I'm just trying to get vibration out of every single part. I don't put up all the legs of the tripod. I have a special tripod head. I'm trying to shield it from the wind. I do long exposure so that the camera settles down after the vibration. Even if you do mirror up, you get vibration because the shutter moves. And so I've never been able to figure out how to use a head that does it in an automated way because I always want to take back some of the shots and say, wait, I couldn't shoot it at that moment. I had to wait a minute to shoot it. Wait for the wind to die down or something like that. So
when you compiled them, how long did it take you?
I'm sorry.
When you compile it, how long does it take you?
Well, the hard thing was to try to do the post-processing. So this is HDR, so I shot, you know, +2, 0, -2. I did HDR because my camera just didn't have the dynamic range to be able to do it. Plus, I like the look. I've gotten Trey's educated all of us on the look. So I stitched them all together using AutoPanel Pro. Sometimes I use PT GUI. AutoPanel Pro, I did all the -2 exposures on one layer, the 0 exposures on another layer, and then the +2 on another layer. But then I couldn't use any of the HDR programs because they'd all blow up with that many pixels. So I went back and said, oh, this really sucks. I'm going to have to do each 100 frames independently, do the HDR independently, and then stitch them together afterwards. And I don't want halos on the horizon, and I don't want black clouds, and I want it to look realistic and have a certain look, and that changed from place to place. there was a little bit of haze that I wanted to remove to make it more vibrant in the centerpiece because it was a hazy day. And so I probably spent, I spent 2 weeks here in the evenings going blind working on this photo until I got it done. But each time I'd do a new cut of it, I'd have to let it run overnight on my 8 processor Mac for 8 hours. And finally I said, you know what? It's just not going to be perfect. I can't stand it anymore. I got to spend time with my family and at work. And so I just pressed print. And then people like Caroline, who's running the video camera, found all kinds of little Easter eggs. Like I'll show you one.
It's like Where's Waldo?
It's like Where's Waldo, exactly. So notice on the front bumper of that boat, the boat was moving. So not only am I doing HDR, so there's 3 exposures, but then it's all stitched together. So you have the cross product of, and then here's 2 people that don't have heads. I don't know if they were like that in real life or not, but I hope not. And that car didn't blend in. So those are the only ones we found so far. But I'm sure there are others.
I would probably just Photoshop in something funny.
You know, so the next one I do, Rabbit, there's a great artist in France. You know the name of him, Trey?
I think Philip Deloudy.
It's probably. And he does these spectacular crosses between photography and art, where he, like there's one beautiful Arab shot that I wanted to buy and put on our wall, but he would only sell 5 of them, and one of them had gone into the Royal Society of London, so he wouldn't sell me one. And he had this beautiful building, and then he photoshopped in things like elephants and the fountains that he wanted to see.
That's something I would do.
An animal. It was so awesome. It was so awesome. And so I've thought about things that the geeks around here would love, like King Kong on one of the towers, and there's all kinds of goodies, Easter eggs you could Photoshop in here that would be so wonderful. So cool. Yeah, lots of room to do it.
Let's go see your other masterpiece.
Other masterpiece.
Yeah. So you guys, I'll walk backwards, or you guys walk forwards. Go ahead.
I'm walking backwards. I'm uncomfortably close to Lisa again.
So you're very complimentary, Chris, about other photographers, but you're quite a photographer yourself.
I love
That's a good trick you do.
I've loved
talking about
photography
other people
since I was a kid, and I'll tell you who got me interested in it. My grandfather had a 16mm movie camera in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and he shot films of like my mother tap dancing when she was 7, and we would go down in the evenings into the basement and watch these 16mm films that were just, like crazy great, and I just fell in love with photography from that point on.
This is an HDR you made, yes?
This is an HDR I made. This is because I wanted Trey to make it, but there was no Trey available to make it. Did I mention that before? Because it's big and it required a lot of images and so on. I just wanted a bigger HDR. So I was walking along one night in Prague in front of this big, beautiful museum. It was pouring rain. I loved the light. I had to get up at 3 in the morning to catch a flight. I thought I don't have time for this, and it was pouring rain and my hands don't work.
Those are always the times where you
I
get
know.
the best pictures, just when you just hold out for just like a second longer, when you're just freezing and dying and you're like, I can't do this, and then you get the best shot.
People thought I was insane out there. I took off my gloves and put them over my camera, hoping my camera wouldn't drown and die. You can't really see it in the photo so much. If you look closely, you can see the rain just streaking down. So I was like a drowned rat out there taking photos in the rain. But that helped it because it created all the reflections on the cement and the light.
Oh yeah, reflections are
that lit it up. I would have liked to have a more interesting sky. I've heard you quoted that you just don't shoot without clouds in the sky. Well, that's why it's not quite a Trey. But
it's a good shot. It's a good shot.
So
there's no need to keep mentioning me with every sentence, please.
You want to see the San Francisco shot with the 800mm?
Yes. Here's it. Comes an 800mm pano.
All right. So the question is, why would I shoot this with an 800mm lens? Am I insane? Are you coming in? And the answer to that is yes, but we all knew that anyway. I love San Francisco. We're local to San Francisco. I wanted a shot from Twin Peaks looking at San Francisco. But the problem is Twin Peaks is 4.8 miles away. So do I rent a helicopter? What do I do?
Ooh, there's an Easter egg.
Yeah. We photoshopped a SmugMug there and one over here somewhere. And I wish I'd photoshopped in a lot more, King Kong and everything else. The reason for choosing an 800mm lens is this print is only 72 inches high and it's 400 inches around. I didn't need as many pixels as we shot. This is 4 rows, and it's more pixels than we needed. It's like a 300 dpi print. Didn't need that much for. I wanted the composition. I wanted it to look like you're in a helicopter right over the city, so you're just right on top of the city. And I wanted the hills to thunder up behind, and the island to be in close, and the buildings to be in close, and everything. So people would forget the photograph and say, "Whoa, that's where I live. This is what they do." And they walk.
It is. I live right here.
Yeah. And then they say, "I hope I have my pants pulled up," when you took the photo, because it's sort of like it's not. This one is not quite as sharp as the others, only because I put a polycarbonate coating on it because I had to, because the conference chairs bang against it. So I needed, and it took away a little bit of the sharpness. But if you see it online, it's like razor blade sharp. And how you do that with an 800mm lens and penetrate the atmosphere and all that is a big trick. I'll tell you one trick that was interesting is there's only 7 minutes when the ambient light and the building light is about the same at dusk, and you have all these frames to shoot. How are you going to do it? It seems impossible. So I stretched that 7 minutes to 20 and figured out how I could get the shot off in 20 minutes. But the light, so I shot a row here. You see it gets darker as it goes around. And then I brought the camera back and shot a row, and it got darker as it went around. And so it's 4 rows total. And the exposure had to change. But I couldn't change the shutter speed because I wanted these streaky lights be 4 seconds long. And anyway, that's how long it takes the camera to settle down and get a really sharp shot. I couldn't change the f-stop because it would change the optical quality, and then it wouldn't stitch together. So I shot ISO 100, brought the camera around, ISO 200, brought the camera around, ISO 400, brought the camera around, ISO 800. And it all blended together, and we got our shot.
Oh.
Awesome.
And I wish I had a much bigger place to print it, because I could print it, 4 times the size, at like the outside of the building, the full height or something, so then you would be able to see what people had for dinner.
You need bigger offices.
I know, we need bigger offices. Actually, we're renting, we may have a building across the way. I saw an announcement that UC Riverside just put the biggest pano ever, printed the biggest pano ever. But it's a fraction of the size of the one I want to print in the building across the way. So.
Oh, yeah. Cool. All right, and that ends the little tour. Let me plug back in. We'll be low on batteries. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah, those are amazing photos. It's great to see not only the sheer size and quality of the prints, but also getting an idea of how Chris has put some of those together. It's actually really interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's all. Every time I come, they have new stuff. They have all kinds of amazing stuff. We only saw a little bit of it, but it's cool. And I think it's cool that Chris is quite the photographer too. He always talks about other photographers, but he's pretty serious himself.
I even have photographs on the back of my shirt. I ran the San Francisco Marathon, and they let you paint your number on the front, so you don't have to pin on the badge. But I thought it was really cool. Right on their website, they let you upload a photo on the back. And that's a photo of 2 of my granddaughters.
That's great.
So most of what I do is chase my granddaughters around with the camera, and that's the photography I love the best.
Hey, we have a new entrant here during that walk. It's Damon. How are you, Damon?
Hey, I'm glad that I got in. I've been trying to get in for about an hour. I was watching you on Justin TV.
Oh, cool. How was the live stream quality? What was it like?
It was excellent. It was excellent, actually. It came through clear, both audio and voice, or audio and imagery. So,
are you a photographer?
I'm probably the greenest in the room, but I've enjoyed.
Those are the best kinds.
Yeah. I do a lot with images. I push images around the web. Millions of images, but I'm definitely a grained photographer. So.
Well, don't worry about it. I think this is common. I find that whenever a photographer enters a group of photographers, they always feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the least experienced person in the room. But just understand that almost everybody there is thinking that same thing, which means it's not true. So you can take solace in that.
For me, this is the best hangout ever. I got a tour of the SmugMug offices, and I get to hang out with y'all. So, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better hangout.
Well,
thank you.
Just have low expectations, please. Hey, Colby, do you ever do pano work like that, like this insane stuff with all these photos?
I do some pano work, but not to that scale. I mean, most of the stuff that I have, the biggest panos that I've done as far as just image-wise is probably 8 or 9 vertical across, and then maybe 1 or 2 rows typically. I mean, that's around where I go. Nothing around the 16-foot range.
Hey, Brian, do you ever do HDR panos?
Yeah, I'll usually do HDR panos using a tilt shift lens where I'm physically shifting the lens left and right to keep everything just kind of straight and proportional.
So you're like translating the lens orthogonal to the subject.
Yep.
Like what's an example of some subject matter you did for that?
When I was in Italy last year, there was a church that, in a single exposure, just felt I wasn't getting quite the depth that I wanted and with. So I had the 17mm Canon tilt shift lens, and it was it wasn't a large, massive church. It was in Sorrento. So I just shifted left, did my 9 brackets, center and right, and that together gave me just kind of to the point of why you would want to do a panel like that is if you zoom in, you get some really nice detail as opposed to a single exposure. So it would have fit. The 17mm would have fit pretty much everything I wanted in one frame, but it would have just had that much less compression.
Yeah. What do you use to stitch together your HDR panos? What software do you use?
I actually use. Chris mentioned I use AutoPanoGiga. AutoPanoGiga is the software I use. I believe it's a French company. So if you just Google AutoPano, I'll put it in the chat module too. But
yeah, the name of the company is Color, KOLOR.
Right. Yep.
You go to color.com, and then their products are called AutoPano Pro and AutoPano Giga. AutoPano Pro is $99. You buy it right there and download it, and it's a great program. And AutoPano Giga has some extra things like an anti-haze filter and stuff like that. So.
Yep.
Why don't you?
Their store's down actually, which is kind of a tragedy.
What happened? I'm sorry.
Color.com is down.
Oh, that is a tragedy. Maybe you guys brought it all down. Everybody hit it.
Yeah, our stream might have crashed it.
That's a shame. But yeah, that's AutoPano is just a phenomenal product. It's better than anything I've ever used, and it outputs some really nice quality.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And it stitching, it does really good blending between frames. So if you have like 40% overlap, or I do 50% overlap between frames because the exposure changes and everything. Yep. It does really good blending. It's about as fast and as accurate. You have to go back and do the least amount of manual editing, and that's a cool looking yellow lab you got there.
That's Zilla. She's an unofficial mascot.
Cool. Hey, William, is your mic working better yet? I wanted to say hi to you.
I have no idea if it is or not. Can you hear me this time?
Yeah, we do. You're a photographer, yes?
Not by trade. I do it for fun and a hobby. So I've got a day job, and that lets me run around with my camera in various places and take a few shots here and there.
What kind of day job do you have?
I am an information security analyst, engineer, whatever you want to call it. I'm mostly working with PKI stuff right now.
And for photography, what do you like? Do you like people or landscapes, or what are you into?
I've done mostly like travel and landscapes, or going around shooting things like that. But in the past about a month, I'm trying to get back into portrait photography. So I've done a couple of workshops, and I'm connecting with like a local model mayhem group. They've got a bunch of people here to get together and do things. Now, what I want to do is take both of those and combine them together. I understand that's kind of what Dave is doing. I saw some work by Joel Grimes as far as compositing, portraits on interesting backgrounds. So that's kind of the direction I want to take it and see where I can get there.
And so, Dave, how did you get into this weird thing that you do?
Weird, amazing.
Yeah. It did not have anything to do with copious amounts of drugs, I can tell you that. Or maybe it did. I don't know. Gosh, how did we get into this? We just wanted to start doing fun stuff, working with some different photographers when we started out, and using their images and then doing a lot of the post work and that kind of thing. And then it turned into a thing where we really wanted to have a lot more control over the entire process. It's asking if I'm still awake. Yeah, there we go. A lot more control over the entire process, so that while we're shooting, we can actually control the light sources that are coming in. We can know, based on the subject matter, what we're shooting, what's going to happen in the camera, so that we can have information to pull from later on. Where's our lighting coming? What can we do later on in Photoshop? That kind of thing.
Well, we started out doing post.
Yeah, I mean, we've started off doing post, and Will's here too. Let me show you guys Mr. Will Wells, who is my Photoshop Yoda. Hi.
Hello, Will Wells.
Hello.
super sexy young man. Get that light off my face. So yeah, I mean, we just try to do fun stuff. I mean, if it's crazy and if it's cool, we want to be a part of it. We've got a project coming up with a group called Team Unicorn. That's going to be awesome. We do a lot of like the sci-fi feel to things. We're shooting a lot in, we use a 5D Mark II. We've got lighting. We use Hasselblad H3D that we're getting ready to upgrade to H4D 60 megapixel, so we can do some more high-end, high everything type shots. Basically, the more pixels we have to push around, the better the outcome's going to be, so we're not having to mask over things. So
cool. What are you doing with Team Unicorn? I met those guys at NASA.
Oh yeah. What? That's funny. We're actually we worked with Allison Hayslip. You guys probably saw some of that stuff with our Jane Bond series, and she's good friends with those ladies over there, who we haven't necessarily met face to face yet. We've been chatting quite a bit. But we're going to be doing a sign sheet for them of some epic imagery. We've yet to settle on a concept. We've talked about everything from an alien popping out of one of them on a like a spaceship prom night type surgery table kind of thing, all the way to what was the other one? Gosh.
They were sitting at a male review strip club, and she was using a wizard wand to make his pants come off.
That's right, yeah. So, I don't know if you guys heard that.
I bet your moms are proud.
Basically, mixing Harry Potter and the porn industry all at once. If we can make that happen, we're happy. So
well, it's an obvious mashup.
Right, of course, yeah.
Cool. Well, Colby, what are your big plans for? What are you going to be doing on Google Plus for the next few weeks? Do you have any new guides you're writing, or any grandiose plans you can share with us?
Nothing too big, actually. I mean, I am converting the Google Plus survival guide for Photographer's Paradise, which is a little guide that I wrote that is kind of giving me at least a little notoriety here with Google Plus. I'm turning that into a PDF and probably even a free ebook type of thing, just so it's easier for people to kind of digest and whatnot, rather than stare at a screen. And it's quite an extensive guide, so it's pretty long. But as I was actually talking to you before we started this, me and my wife are actually expecting our first child here in the next 10 to 12 days, if not sooner. So I have a lot of plans that are kind of on hold until after September comes. So it's kind of prioritizing whatnot in order to be there for my wife and whatnot. So
that's great. It was good getting to know you. Lisa, do you have any final questions or anything before we wrap this up for our people here?
No, I just think it's so amazing to connect with all these amazing photographers and learn that their route to, I guess, success in photography is very similar to my own. And meeting you has been such an inspiration for me as well, because it's just, when you start out, you're just so green and you have no idea, and you think, like, how am I ever going to take pictures as good as this person or in this magazine? But it's all just this process. And really with digital cameras, it doesn't take that long. There's so many resources out there just to grab hold of and to inspire. And, now with Google Plus, I just think it's such a window to sharing. Like, It just seems even easier to share. And the feedback that I'm getting is a lot more positive, and it seems like there's this great community. So I think if you are sort of a new photographer, to really like start doing it, just get your stuff out there.
Yeah, I think photography is like a solitary sport, you know, and we're kind of alone when we do it, and it's just nice to be on a hangout or to meet all these other people, Google Plus, and you see that you're not in it alone, and everybody's going through this together, and we can all learn together, and there's something very interesting going on here that I can't quite put my finger on, but I know that all the photographers that are into Google Plus, like you, Colby, and everybody else here, there's just something very nice about it, something very real, and I don't think it's a fad. I think this will keep going, and especially thanks to guys like you and your guides and keeping everybody, you know, singing from the same hymn book. So thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. And I think, I mean, just to add a quick little note, I think both you guys are spot on. I mean, I think that the reason why Google Plus has become so popular in the industry, and why I also agree that it's going to continue, is because of not only the level of interaction that we're allowed to have with other photographers, both professional hobbyists, amateurs, and people that are just passionate about the art, but the level of personable interactions. And I think that's a key term, is that you don't, you know, with Twitter, everything is instant, and it's, you know, it's nice for direct communication, but it still feels distant. Facebook, for at least me personally, feels a little bit clunky and whatnot. And so because Google Plus offers all of us to have these, you know, have either hangouts or even when we're connecting and how we share images and how we can share stuff and how we can build the community, it really does feel, you know, it feels like a real community. Not necessarily just a digital community. I mean, it's, you know, I've developed relationships with Brian and Anwan and Dave Cox and Jarvie, who's not here, and Nicole Young, all these amazing photographers, you know, that we are collaborating on projects and doing these amazing things, let alone also allowing us to spread our education and our knowledge and our experiences. And again, just to come back, I think it's the meaningful aspect of it. It's not just the interactions, although those are higher numbers than anywhere else, but the unique ways that we can do it where everyone feels a part of the community, so to speak. So.
We agree, Colby Brown. Hey, I should give you guys a chance before we say goodbye. Do you guys have any questions for Lisa, since she's here and human and right by us and everything?
What are you doing for dinner later, Lisa? Everybody's wanting to know. Come on now.
I think Trey and I are going.
Oh, yeah. That's a rumor starter right there. You don't want to go that route.
Hey Trey, can I ask you one question before you end the show, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir.
I would have loved to have been a bird on the wall, you know, a bug on the wall or something, to listen to you and Chee Chew's conversation at coffee. Is there a soundbite or two that you could share with the group, or, you know, what was his insight about using Hangouts and photography, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So what he's referring to, in case you don't know, is the guy that started Google Hangouts. He came up with the idea. You know, he and his whole team built it together. But we got to be friends across a couple Hangouts, and I happened to be in Seattle for this weird event. But while I was there, Chee Chew and I went to have coffee together. It seems like a Seattle-y thing to do. And he is just this really brilliant, nice guy. He is very, very humble. He's excited. He says everyone at Google is like, just can't believe how awesome Google Plus is and how much fun Hangouts are, and how there was something interesting that he said, though, that I didn't already write about, that I can tell y'all about. And it was that he really had to convince upper management at Google that Hangouts was a good idea. The idea that you could just have a bunch of video streams open and just this sort of asynchronous communication. Because, you know, we're used to video chat where one person talks and then the other person answers or asks. And so it's this really kind of pressurized system where you have to answer. But Hangouts, on the other hand, is just something where you just, there's no expectations. And it's all kind of peer-to-peer. Nobody's really in charge or whatever. And so he had to really convince the guys that it would work. And they were very open-minded, and they said, okay, well, we'll give this a try. And an hour after he had it coded, they had it up, and it turned out that everyone was just sitting around in front of their computers, talking and having a good time. And his slight little insight that I think this is a good idea, when they actually tested it with all upper management, and they were a little bit reticent, they loved it. And so I thought it was a really nice kind of testament to the open-mindedness and experimental nature of Google. And you kind of have these good feelings about people at Google, and I largely trust them just because I met so many people that are wonderful and interesting and deep thinkers, and they're sensitive and they think about this stuff. Since I trust the people at Google, like Chee Chew, I end up trusting the company as a whole. And so that was just kind of a nice face-to-face to kind of make me feel like my trust is well-founded.
Can I put in a plug for Google+?
Yes.
So there's I don't know how many people know Andy Herzfield. He was the software manager for the Macintosh, and we go back a long, long ways and have lots of stories about working for Steve Jobs to tell together. And I worked with Andy for Andy. He was one of the founders of a company called General Magic for a couple of years and just fell in love with the guy, as everyone does. We referred to him as Yoda because he's this sort of soft, short, round, wise, passionate guy, and with frizzy hair and everything. And he's so passionate that I think he was the brains behind putting all the autographs on the inside of the original Mac. And one of the things he used to say is, he has this big booming voice, and he speaks in a sort of faltering way. We poured love into the Macintosh. I'm trying to replicate, just trying to channel Andy here. And it radiated it back to us through the screen. That's not the kind of thing you hear many computer scientists say. So Don and I, my son Don, who's the CEO of SmugMug, that's who I work for, he and I saw Andy at an Apple store, when we were all lining up for iPhones. We had a long time to chat. And Andy was working at Google at the time and didn't seem very happy. And he told us at the time, I don't know how long I'm going to be there because they just don't make things beautiful and they don't respect design and so on. But Google wisely decided to listen to Yoda, and they let him do the Circle editor, which we all love so much in Google+. And he poured his heart and soul into the Circle editor and made it that lovely animated, thing that gave people such a strong first impression when he started there. And I think part of the what we're seeing is it's much prettier than things they've done in the past, and it's much more human and squishy and lovely and more like Andy Herzfield, and so I think that's one of the things we like as photographers.
Yeah, it's a nice story.
You're Google, you're squishy.
You're awesomely squishy. Okay, anybody have any questions for Lisa before we bid you adieu?
Don't harass her.
No?
Lisa, tell us about your app. Come on now. Get a little plug in there.
Yeah, tell us more about camera. Give us some Camera Plus news.
We just submitted a new version that's gonna have magic in it. So look out for that in the next.
When does it hit?
Whenever Apple approves.
Are you going to flip it on immediately as soon as they approve?
We'll see. We always have a master plan of when to flip things on, but it should be fun. I mean, as always, I'm working day and night on that. So.
Do you have any inside scoop on the next camera for the next iPhone?
Well, I think it's going to be bigger and better, and I mean, I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited about iOS 5. I think it's going to have, I feel bad talking about Apple things, so like Google.
It's okay.
But yeah, I'm really obviously excited about that, and hopefully we'll get a better camera in there. I mean, I'm already pretty amazed with it and take pretty good pictures of it. So.
I actually have a question.
Go.
I used to use iPhones and iPads, and I actually use more Google stuff nowadays. I mean, with Camera Plus, I have two questions. One, how many people are working on Camera Plus with you? I mean, I'm guessing it's a consortium of a few people. And the second question is, do you guys have any plans to take it to Android or Google? Or
good question. We're a fairly small team, and we're spread international. Our lead designers in Austria, our lead coders in New Zealand. We just hired a bunch of new devs in Spain. And then our kind of main US people are sort of spread over US. So that's why I've kind of been going between San Francisco and New York and all over the place. But as far as the Android question, obviously, it's something that I personally. Oh, hard to say.
So politic.
It's tricky. I mean, one, we're a really small team, and with iOS 5, we're just pouring all of our attention and love into that, and trying to keep our app as the top camera app on the iPhone. And we'll see, like, if and we'll see if there's a leader that breaks out from Android, because right now, I mean, if you think about it, we have to deal with the actual hardware of the phone, and that's tricky because everything that we've done is maximized for an iPhone. So if you get it on an HTC or like a Droid, that's going to have different stuff going on. So we're just so small and we're kind of maxed out as it is. So I mean, we'll see if that happens in the future, but I know it's the #1 request that we get. So, I mean, the one thing I'm really excited about is direct sharing to Google+. That's something that as soon as they've got an API, that's something I'm really excited about, because right now I'm not sharing, any of my mobile photos really to Google+, because it's such a process. And so that's something that's definitely on the
Cool. No, excellent. Well, thank you for answering. I mean, the reason I ask is the same question probably everyone asks is I actually really enjoy my Android phones, but the camera applications are not very good. So.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Hey, Lisa, my buddy Dave, he wants to know. Actually, he was asking Dave. His name's Dave Veffer. I think he's actually a huge fan of SmugMug. But he wanted to know if you're going to have any any more add-ons, like in-app purchases for Camera Plus. He was trying to get in here. I guess he can.
As far as more effects, or
yeah, more effects.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like every request we get, we hear, and I mean, that's something that I did because I did all the effects, so I'm excited to do more effects, and that's something that I'd love to do. We already have like a ton of effects in there, so there's a saturation point, I think, with effects, but I always come up with new ones, and I'd love to share, the effects that I use in my own photography with everyone out there.
Yep.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, we got to go. They're about to close down SmugMug here, but thanks for coming, everybody. It was nice talking to you, and we'll see you around. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Later.
Bye.
Later.